Hi there, Fat Cockney here. Today I'm going to show you how I restore this old cavalry carbine musket that I bought at Bracknell. I can't remember what I bought for it now. I'm going to see now. It's about £130, I think. So this is in Bracknell in England at a military fair. It's a two-band. I believe it's cavalry carbine, one because it's short, and two, you've got that little bit there on the side, which I think you'd clipped a lanyard so you don't drop it. Also, the ramrod at the front's got a little catch so it doesn't actually come off, but I think they put it on the wrong way round. Luckily here, these screws weren't too tight, so they come out quite easy. Otherwise I would have just put a little bit of oil on there and left it for a couple of hours. I always use these plastic little tubs to put all my bits in so I can see what's in there and I don't lose nothing. Sometimes with these old barrels, they get a lot of corrosion and rust underneath. When they're shot, they get hot, they draw in the cold, damp air, and it just stays there, makes them all rusty. This one's not too bad. I've bought others that have been really bad in the past. So always bear that in mind if you're going to pay a lot of money for a gun. Sometimes it's good to see the barrel off. Right, the stuff I just poured in there is this stuff that I got on eBay. I don't know if it's any good, you know, compared to other products, but hey, that's what I bought, and you dilute it. You just put all the steel bits in. Don't put any brass bits in. I found that out because I did put my brass bits in, and they kind of went coppery. Now for the boring part, sanding down. Again, I don't do this for a living, so I'm just using some sandpaper I found in my shed. It seems to be doing it all right. It's covered in varnish. A lot of these old guns, they just seem to stain them with a dark brown varnish. It's to try and hide any faults and things. I was quite lucky with this because once I'd sanded it all down, there wasn't any repairs, which the brown varnish can kind of hide, you know, cracks that they've glued together or filled. So just keep sanding away. I do try to sand along the grain as much as possible. I can't always, but I try to. It gives it a better finish when you stain it and wax it. Once I finish sanding, I like to stain it with some wood dye. The more coats you put on it, the darker it gets as well. I don't like using a brush. I like using a cloth. It just seems to give a better, smoother finish all over. Whereas with a brush, sometimes you get more streaks and things. So I'm just giving it here the first coat. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you're interested. I do answer most of my comments. I wasn't sure how well the serial number would come out at the end there, stamped into the wood, but it came out really well, as you'll see later. Now, let's take the old steel parts out of the rust cleaner. I'm just dropping them into clean water there, just to wash that all off. It's probably a good idea to wear gloves because it is quite corrosive, that thing I'm putting my fingers in. I don't normally take apart all the trigger mechanism like you see on some videos, because quite frankly, I'm rubbish at putting them bits back together again. Parts break. Some you need a little special tool to compress a spring, which I don't have, and it wasn't in very bad condition, so that's why I've left it all intact. Now for bluing the steel components. I bought this on eBay. There's various different types of gun blue, for different shades of blue, I imagine. I quite like this one. As long as all your components are grease free, it is pretty idiot proof. Look, you can see it almost goes black straight away. Again, try not to get too much of it on your fingers. It is very acidy. But it's nice to see instant results. Sometimes I'll wash it off, rub it down, and give a second coat. Another thing worth remembering, pour the gun blue into a container, not metallic. Don't dip your brush into it, because that little metal ring that's holding the hairs on the brush, that will contaminate what's in the bottle, and then that will start to cause problems and it won't work so well. As I may have said earlier, I'm not a gunsmith. I'm purely doing this as a hobby, to try and make something that basically was crap look quite nice. So if I'm not doing it right, don't be too harsh on me on the comments. Once the old gun blue's dried, I'll put it in some warm water there. You can see me taking it out. Yeah, just to wash off the gun blue, give it a bit of a dry. I like to give this bit here, all the mechanism, a bit of WD-40, because it's actually a water dispersant. Same there where the screws go in. And clean it all off, because it's not an actual lubricant. I'll oil that up shortly. And give it a quick squirt of gun oil, not too much, just a light coating. I think that's come up really nice with only one coat. As I say, sometimes you have to give it a light rub down with the wet and dry and clean it and then apply the blue again. But it just come out as a nice deep dark blue. I kept it on one coat. Right, I'm going to give this a quick second coat just to darken it up. I didn't sand it between. Again, sometimes I do, but it was just taking so well to this wood. It didn't really need rubbing down and reapplying. So I just put it straight on and it looks really good, as you can see. And now to give the wood a wax in. I like to wax it. I'm not too keen on varnish. Again, that wax is I just got in my local DIY shop. It's called Black Bison, but the wax isn't black. That's a make. So I'll give it a good heavy coat. And because it was quite hot weather doing this, it was soaking right in there. Once I finished waxing it, I just gave it a light buff with a duster. I forgot to film that bit, but here you can see it's all finished. Right, let's clean this old barrel up, ready to blue it. As you can see, that rust, that was a bit underneath, but the moisture gets trapped. Hardly any blue left on it, a little bit underneath. So now for another boring bit, rubbing this down. I did cut a bit out the middle there. It's just a bit boring watching sanding. Now I need to give it a degrease. The best thing for this is an alcohol. What I've got here isn't alcohol, but I had it on hand. Normally it works well, but because it was so hot, the weather here, it was drying too quick and leaving a film onto the metal, which caused me a few little problems later. I'm going to put the gun blue on. Again, I prefer it with a cloth if I'm putting it on a barrel. Normally I'd do it in one long stroke, but because the weather was so hot, it wasn't going right. So, and it was giving a really good coverage. You have to wash off the excess gun blue. So I took it in the bathroom, give it a quick shower, and here we are. I don't think it looks too bad. It's not perfect, but compared what this 200-year-old gun looked like before, I think it's looking quite good. What do you reckon, if anyone's still watching at this part? Now let's give the ramrod a bit of a clean, ready for bluing that. I accidentally forgot to record the cleaning of the brass parts, but I'm sure most people here know how to use a bit of Brasso. Bit of confusion here on my part, as they're both the same size, and they both almost look the same what way round they are. Normally there's a flat piece, but there wasn't. In the end I noticed the way the screw's done up, so put it back that way. this is where I notice I have a screw left over, and I realise it's the bit that goes inside here. So I have to take a few bits apart again. Right, that little screw goes in there and helps the front of the trigger guard to stay secure. And just a bit of gun oil on some kitchen towel here, just to wipe over the barrel and other parts where I've had my fingers on, so it stays nice. Well, thanks for watching if you've managed to stay to the very end. I think it looks much better now. What do you folks think, if anyone's still here watching? Look, that's going to go good on my wall.